could you tell me your initial reactions to this the budget first thing?
Disappointing. We have a $1 billion surplus and not a lot of money invested in public services.
Okay, what specific public services do you think we're really lacking?
I would say healthcare is really lacking because they focus on recruitment and retention. They focused a bit on surgeries, but they didn't say whether they're coming from the public or if they're going to utilize private again. And we also know that the federal government did do a clawback recently because of the services that they are utilizing. And in education's been spiraling downward for a long time. And classrooms, there'll be more children in classrooms. There'll be I lost my train of thought. More children in classrooms and less services, less one-on-one care for the special needs children. So that's very concerning.
Okay, and let's go back to the private healthcare workers first. I spoke with Bashir Jallow the other day for an article where he says, they found out $730,000 in that, the northwest kind of area. So we're talking about Meadow Lake to North Battleford. It was spent on private traveling nurses, right? And so he said this is a Band-Aid fix. This is not an actual fix. And it's also lowering morale among nurses who work for the SHA because they're getting paid so much less. So, what would you have liked to see represented in the budget that would take care of that so we wouldn't have to hire, the number is 225 private healthcare workers to come into Saskatchewan?
Well, they need to talk to the workers. They haven't talked to the nurses. They haven't talked to the provider unions as to some of the resources. Creation of full-time jobs. The vast majority of the jobs that are out there are part-time and relief. There's no guarantee of hours. So there's no incentive for people to stay in those jobs. So they need to look at it and create full-time jobs out in the rural areas where people will feel comfortable. Because right now, if you get hired in healthcare, you have no schedule, you have no guarantee of hours, and that's just not acceptable. And then they hire contractor ones that are making double the money or more to work side by side with others. So the morale of the workers that stay in this province, pay the taxes in this province, and continue to purchase things in this province feel like second-grade workers, and that's just not acceptable.
Let's go to education. So, when you saw the budget, were you surprised at all with the number there? And what kind of were you looking for as far as, investment in education?
I'm not surprised. I mean, it's been the ripple effect from years of lack of funding in education. We are hoping that they would recognize the fact that they need to put more money into education. They have not done so. Last year, they bragged about it being a record-breaking, and we saw layoffs of teachers. We saw reduced hours for educational assistants. We saw more services to some of the schools deleted, and that's a problem because the children are our future. They're the ones that are going to keep growing this province and work in this province, hopefully in the future. And they don't have the support mechanisms right now in the schools.
So what I'm hearing from you is, according to the budget, they're not taking care of the needs right now, like the major needs in terms of retention, but also the future needs. Right? So what's your comment on the $1 billion surplus? Because, a surplus is always a good thing for the province, but, you're not the first person I've heard from who's very disappointed in the budget and say it's a shortfall. It's not meeting the needs. It's not keeping up with inflation. Where would you have liked to see that money go? Would you like there have been to still been a bit of a surplus? Like, what are your thoughts on that surplus?
I mean, there's a fiscal responsibility of paying down the debt, but this government created this large debt. Let's remember, when they came into government, there was some money in the reserves, and they spent it all when the times were good. And now they're spending money, and now they're trying to say, well, we're going to pay off the debt. But on the backs of people in this province, working people. Public services are there for all people in this province. It's not just about our workers. They are a service that services the people of Saskatchewan. And that's important, and they just seem to ignore that part of it. But the people of Saskatchewan need these services because, it's evident that it is. We can't go into private for everything because people can't afford it. We have the lowest minimum wage. All other provinces except New Brunswick right now have a target of $15 an hour by the end of this year. We're looking at October 2024.
Yeah, I hear from people that they wanted $15 immediately, and then they want to work your way up incrementally to like maybe 17, right? So not incrementally to 15.
The other thing that's, there's a lot of federal money that has come into this province, and they're allocating that in their budget. So, what is federal and what are they actually putting into the services of this province? And riding on the backs of the federal for many of these things is just not acceptable. Childcare, they're talking about how they're expanding that, but they haven't really given any additional funding outside of what the federal government has been doing to childcare, and they're struggling because, yes, the $10 a day for the people, but there are workers in there that are not getting a raise, and there's also services that are not happening. And once you turn 6, the $10 a day goes. But guess what? I still think you need childcare at age 6, 7, 8, 9. I hope you can't go on your own. So why isn't there some kind of subsidy for those? Because the before and after school programs cost way more than $10 a day.